Hi everyone, welcome to Charlotte Revenge Whispers. The manila envelope sat unopened on my desk, its presence mocking me as George's words still rang in my ears. "I'm leaving you for Mia, my secretary." He'd said it so casually, like he was telling me he'd picked up milk from the store. I'm Emma, and until exactly 49 minutes ago, I thought I was living the American dream: successful husband, beautiful daughter in college, and a secret tech startup that was about to change everything. Now I was just another statistic, a woman being left for someone younger. Mom. Isabella's voice crackled through my phone's speaker. "Dad just texted me something weird. Are you okay?" My fingers trembled as I gripped the phone tighter. "Can you come over?"
Sweetie, we need to talk.
"I'm already on my way." While waiting for Jayla, I finally picked up the envelope. Inside was a letter from Oliver, one of Silicon Valley's most prominent investors, expressing interest in my startup. The irony wasn't lost on me, my greatest professional triumph arriving alongside my greatest personal failure. The doorbell rang and I opened it to find not just Amelia, but Luna too. My best friend must have heard the news through our mutual contacts. "Oh, honey," Luna said, pulling me into a hug. I came as soon as I heard Amelia stood behind, her eyes wide with concern. "Mom, what's happening?" We moved to the living room, the same room where George and I had spent countless evenings planning our future. Now it felt like a museum of broken promises. "Your father," I started, then cleared my throat. "Your father is leaving us for Mia, his secretary." Jayla's voice cracked. "The one who brought us Christmas cookies, the very same," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "He moved out this morning while I was at work." Luna cursed under her breath. "That coward couldn't even face you properly." "He left a note on the kitchen counter," I said, gesturing to the crumpled paper on the coffee table. "Said he'd send someone for his things." Amelia picked up the note, her hands shaking. "How long? 6 months. According to him. Though who knows if that's even true. I saw them together last week at that new cafe downtown." Luna admitted, looking guilty. I thought, convinced myself it was just a business lunch. The doorbell rang again, making us all jump through the window. I could see Arthur, my business partner, standing on the porch with a concerned expression.
Come in,
I called out, not bothering to get up. Arthur entered, his usually cheerful face serious. "I just heard from Charlotte at the office." "Emma, I'm so sorry." "Charlotte knows?" I asked, suddenly feeling sick. Charlotte was Mia's sister, my colleague, and, until today, someone I considered a friend. She claimed she had no idea. Arthur said, sitting down beside me. "She's Charlotte stated. Actually says she wants to talk to you when you're ready." Amelia stood up abruptly. "I need to call Dad. This isn't this. Can't be real." As she stormed upstairs, Luna followed, leaving me alone with Arthur and the investor letter. "What's that?" Arthur nodded toward the envelope in my hands.
Oliver wants to invest,
I said flatly. "He wants to meet next week." Arthur's eyes widened. That's huge."
Emma.
"This could change everything." "Everything's already changed," I whispered.
But then something shifted inside me.
Maybe it was the shock wearing off, or maybe it was the realization that I had more to lose than just my marriage. I stood up, smoothing my skirt schedule. "The meeting with Oliver and Arthur, don't tell anyone about this yet, especially not Charlotte." "Of course," he replied, watching me carefully. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking it's time to show everyone exactly what I'm capable of." I picked up George's note and tore it in half, starting with "My dear husband." From upstairs, I could hear Isabella's muffled sobs in Luna's soothing voice. My heart ached for my daughter, but beneath the pain, something else was growing. Determination. My phone buzzed with a text from George. "I hope you understand we can keep this civil." I deleted the message without responding. Civil. He hadn't been civil when he'd been sneaking around with Mia. He hadn't been civil when he'd left me with nothing but a note. The investor's letter felt heavy in my hands, a lifeline thrown just when I needed it most. George might have taken my present, but he wouldn't take my future, not anymore. I looked at Arthur, who was still watching me with concern. "Want help me change the world?" He smiled, and for the first time that day, I felt something close to hope. Always. 3 days after George left, I finally forced myself to check our joint accounts. The numbers on the screen made my coffee go cold in my hands. He did what Luna nearly shouted across my kitchen table. That's not just unethical. It's illegal. Transferred almost everything, I said, turning my laptop to show her left just enough to avoid immediate suspicion. Must have been siphoning it off for months. My phone buzzed Charlotte again. I'd been avoiding her calls since the news about George and Mia broke. But now I wondered if she might have useful information. You should talk to her, Luna said, reading my mind. Charlotte's not Mia. She's been your friend for years.
Fine.
I answered the next call. Charlotte. Emma, thank God. Her voice was strained. I've been trying to reach you. Can we meet, please? There's something you need to know. 19 minutes later, Charlotte sat across from me at a quiet cafe, her hands wrapped around an untouched latte. I had no idea about Mia and George. I swear on my life. I believe you, I said, surprising myself by meaning it. There's more. Charlotte leaned forward. I overheard Mia on the phone yesterday. She's not planning to stay with George. She's using him to get ahead in his company. Then she's going to leave him for someone else. The irony should have made me laugh, but instead I felt hollow. Does he know? No? And I'm not supposed to know either. Charlotte's eyes were pleading. I want to help you, Emma, whatever you need. My phone buzzed with a text from Arthur. Oliver confirmed for 3 p.m. You ready, actually? I said to Charlotte, there is something you can help with. How much do you know about quantum computing? 3 hours later, I walked into Oliver's office with Arthur by my side. The investor's corner office screamed, old money, but his eyes were sharp and modern. Show me what you've got, Oliver said, skipping pleasantries. I pulled out my tablet and launched the presentation. We're not just building another quantum computer. We're revolutionizing how they interface with existing systems. As I walked him through the technology, I could see Oliver's expression shifting from polite interest to genuine excitement. Arthur jumped in with technical details, and together we painted a picture of the future. Our future. Impressive, Oliver said when we finished, but your competition has nothing like this. I interrupted, pulling up one final slide because of this. I showed him the patent application Charlotte had helped fast-track. Through her connections, Oliver leaned back, a slow smile spreading across his face. How much are you looking for? Later that evening, as Arthur and I celebrated over takeout in the office, my phone lit up with a text from George. Need to talk about the house dinner tomorrow. Don't go, Arthur said, reading my expression. Whatever he wants, let the lawyers handle it. I have to know what he's planning. I replied to George with a simple okay. Arthur moved closer, his concern evident. Then let me come with you as backup.
No,
I said, touching his arm briefly. I need to do this alone. The next evening I walked into the restaurant where George and I had celebrated our last anniversary. He was already there, looking somehow smaller than I remembered. You look good, he said. As I sat down, save it. I opened my banking app. Want to explain where our savings went? His face fell. Lil, I can explain, don't call me that. I kept my voice steady. Just tell me why I needed capital for a new venture. I was going to pay it back. He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Things have been complicated at work, complicated enough to steal from your wife, ex-wife. He corrected automatically, then winced at his own words. My phone buzzed, a message from Charlotte. Mia. Just booked a flight to Miami, one-way ticket. I stood up, leaving George mid-explanation. Good luck with your complications. George, you're going to need it. Walking out, I called Arthur. Remember that press release? We were holding back on release it tomorrow, and call Oliver. Tell him we're ready to move faster. Are you sure? Arthur asked once we announced the patent. I'm sure. I got into my car, watching George through the restaurant window as he sat alone, staring at his phone. It's time. Everyone knew exactly what we've built. The engine hummed to life, and with it my resolve strengthened. George had always underestimated me, treated my work as a hobby. He wasn't the only one. Our entire industry had dismissed my ideas as unrealistic. Well, they were about to learn just how wrong they'd been. All of them. The press release hit like a tsunami. By noon, my phone wouldn't stop ringing, and our company's website had crashed 3 times from the traffic. Mom Amelia stood in my office doorway, looking uncertain. I saw the news. Why didn't you tell me? I gestured for her to come in, closing my laptop. I wanted to protect you from all this. I'm not a kid anymore. She sat down fiddling with her bracelet, a nervous habit she'd inherited from me. Dad called. He sounds scared. He should be. I pulled up an email on my screen. Look what Charlotte just sent me. Amelia leaned in to read the internal memo from George Company. Their stock had dropped 15% since our announcement. Our patent had effectively made their main project obsolete. Did you know? Amelia asked when you filed the patent that it would hurt his company.
Yes.
I met her eyes that it would hurt him. That was just a bonus. My phone buzzed all over again. This time I answered. Emma, you brilliant woman. His voice boomed through the speaker. The board is ready to triple our investment. How fast can you get downtown? Give me 30 minutes. I hung up and looked at Amelia. Wanna see how your mom changes the world? She smiled. The first real smile I'd seen from her in weeks. Can we get ice cream after deal? Oliver's boardroom was packed with investors. When we arrived, Arthur was already there looking sharp in his best suit. He gave Amelia a warm hug before pulling out chairs for both of us. Ladies and gentlemen, Oliver began, I believe you've all seen the news. Emma, would you like to walk us through the next phase? I stood up feeling every eye in the room. Our quantum interface isn't just theoretical anymore. We have a working prototype. The room erupted in murmurs. Arthur pulled up the demonstration on the main screen while I continued. Traditional quantum computers require specialized environments and expertise. Our interface makes quantum computing accessible to any existing system. We're not just building better computers. We're democratizing the future. 3 hours later, we walked out with full funding and a development timeline that would put us in market within 6 months. Amelia hugged me tight outside the building. That was amazing. You were amazing. Ice cream time. I asked, but my phone buzzed again. Charlotte's name flashed on the screen.
Take it.
Amelia said. I'll wait by the car. Charlotte, what's wrong? Mia's gone. Charlotte's voice was shaky. She cleaned out George's personal accounts this morning and disappeared. He's at the office having a complete meltdown. I leaned against a nearby wall processing this. Did she leave anything behind? Just a note saying she never loved him? Emma, there's something else. She took documents from his office. Sensitive ones.
My laugh.
Surprised, even me. Karma's quite the artist. Isn't it?
George asking about you.
He knows you're behind the patent. That's tanking his company's stock good. I watched Jayla by the car scrolling through her phone. Let him know exactly what he threw away. He's not the only one worried. Charlotte continued. The board is meeting tomorrow. There's talk of forcing him out. After hanging up, I joined Jayla at the car. Change of plans. How about we get that ice cream to go and have a movie night at home like we used to? Her eyes lit up. Can we build a blanket fort absolutely at home? Halfway through our second movie and surrounded by blankets and pillows, my phone lit up with a text from Arthur. Turn on the business news. Now I grabbed the remote, switching channels just in time to see George Company announcing an emergency board meeting. The ticker showed their stock down another 13%. Is this because of your patent? Jayla asked quietly. Partly. I pulled her closer, but mostly it's because your father made bad decisions in business and in life. He called again while you were in the bathroom, said, he needs to see you, said it's urgent. I turned off the TV. He'll have to wait. Tonight is for us. Later, after Jayla had fallen asleep on the couch, I checked my emails. One last time, there was a message from Oliver with the subject line, tomorrow's headlines. Attached was an advanced copy of a major tech magazine's article about our company. The title read, The Future of Computing. How one woman's vision could change everything. I closed my laptop and looked at my sleeping daughter, thinking about legacy and karma and the strange ways life balances its books. George had tried to leave me with nothing. Instead, he'd freed me to become everything I was meant to be. My phone buzzed with another message from him.
Please.
I need your help. I turned off my phone without replying. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges. But tonight in our blanket fort, we were safe. We were whole. We were enough. The stack of papers Charlotte had just handed me felt like dynamite in my hands. Financial records, unauthorized transactions, falsified reports, all bearing George's signature. He's been cooking the books for years, Charlotte said, her voice barely above a whisper in my office. Mia didn't just take his money. She took his insurance policy against prosecution. Does he know you found these copies? Charlotte shook her head. I made these before she left. I knew you'd need them. My desk phone buzzed. Emma Arthur's here with the prototype team. My assistant announced.
Send them in.
I turned to Charlotte. Thank you for everything. The next hour was a blur of technical discussions and timeline adjustments. Our prototype was exceeding expectations, but Arthur looked worried. What's wrong? I asked. When the team left, Oliver called George. Been trying to reach him, claiming we stole intellectual property from his company. I pulled out the documents Charlotte had brought. Let him try. Look what I just got. Arthur's eyes widened as he read. This could put him in prison. I know. I stood up, walking to the window. That's not what I want. What do you want? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a text from Amelia. Dad's at my dorm. He's drunk. I have to go. I told Arthur, grabbing my keys. Call Oliver. Tell him to meet us tomorrow morning. And Arthur, bring the prototype. I found George sitting on the steps outside Isabella dorm, his tie loose and hair disheveled. She won't see me. He slurred. My own daughter.
Get in the car, George.
I helped him up, ignoring the stares from passing students. You're making a scene. Everything's gone, he mumbled as I drove. Mia, the company. You all gone. You did this to yourself. I know. He pressed his forehead against the window. The board voted. This morning I'm out. Effective immediately. I pulled into a coffee shop parking lot. Why are you telling me this? Because you won. He turned to face me, his eyes red. You destroyed everything I built.
No.
George, you destroyed it. I just built something better. They're investigating me, the SEC, the board. They found irregularities. I know. I handed him a coffee from the drive-thru. Sober up. Go home. Call your lawyer home. He laughed bitterly. Mia sold the condo before she left. Did you know that she had power of attorney? My phone buzzed. Arthur again. Oliver, set for 9 a.m. prototype, ready for full demonstration. I have to go. I told George. Call a cab, and George, stay away from Amelia until you're sober. Back at the office, I found Arthur working late, the prototype humming quietly in the test lab. Everything okay? He asked, noting my expression. No, but it will be. I sat down beside him. Show me where we are. As Arthur walked me through the latest improvements, I felt the weight of the day lifting. This was what mattered, not revenge, not George's downfall, but creating something meaningful. Emma Arthur's voice was soft. There's something else. He pulled up an email on his screen. It was from a major tech conference inviting me to be their keynote speaker. The same conference where, 3 years ago, George had told me my ideas were unrealistic. Say yes, Arthur urged. Show them all what you've built. My phone buzzed with a text from Amelia. Dad's gone. Can I come to the office? I don't want to be alone. Of course, sweetie, I replied, then looked at Arthur. Help me order some late-night pizza. An hour later, Amelia sat cross-legged on my office floor, watching in awe as Arthur demonstrated the prototype. So this is what you've been working on all these years? She asked while Dad was saying it was just a hobby. This is it. I joined her on the floor. What do you think? I think she smiled. I think he never deserved you.
Mom.
My phone lit up with another text. Charlotte, this time board meeting. Tomorrow. They're announcing George replacement. You should be there. I showed the message to Arthur, who grinned. Perfect timing for our demonstration. To Oliver, looking at my daughter and my closest friend, surrounded by the technology we'd built and the future we were creating. I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't about destroying George anymore. It was about building something he could never take away. Mom. Amelia touched my arm. Are you okay? Better than okay. I pulled her into a hug. I'm finally free. The invitations to our product launch went out on a Tuesday morning. I saved George for last, my cursor hovering over his email address for a full minute before clicking. Send. Are you sure about this? Arthur asked, watching me from across my desk. Inviting him could backfire. I want him there. I closed my laptop. I want him to see exactly what he walked away from. My phone buzzed. Luna was calling. Have you seen what Mia just posted? I pulled up social media and felt my stomach clench there. She was on a yacht in Miami with some tech billionaire, wearing a bikini that probably cost more than George's monthly salary. She works fast. I muttered. That's not all. Luna continued. Check your email. A new message had just arrived from Mia herself. The subject line read about your launch event. Don't open it. Arthur warned. But I already had Dear Emma. I read aloud, congratulations on your success. I'd love to attend your launch and show there are no hard feelings after all. We both know George wasn't worth fighting over best wishes.
Mia.
Arthur cursed under his breath. She's trying to provoke you. She succeeded. I typed a quick reply. Looking forward to seeing you there. Emma, no. But I'd already hit send. The office door opened and Oliver strode in his usual confidence, tempered by concern. We need to talk about security for the launch. I'm hearing rumors. What kind of rumors? George been making calls, telling people your technology is stolen. He's desperate, which makes him dangerous. My phone lit up with a text from Charlotte. Mia's back in town. She's meeting with George's former board members. Let them come, I said, standing up, all of them. It's time to end this. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparations. The prototype was perfected, the presentation rehearsed, and the venue secured, but something felt off about Arthur. I found him alone in the lab late one night, staring at the prototype. Want to tell me what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. He didn't meet my eyes. Everything's perfect, Arthur. He finally looked at me. I worry that this is still about him, about George. It's not, isn't it? He stepped closer. You're inviting him. And Mia, and everyone who ever doubted you. This isn't just a product launch anymore. Emma, it's a statement. Maybe I need to make one. Or maybe. He touched my arm gently. You need to let go. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Jala was calling. Mom, Dad's here again. He's saying crazy things about your company, about stolen patents. I'm on my way. I grabbed my keys, but Arthur stopped me. Let me come with you. When we arrived at Isabella dorm, George was pacing the parking lot, waving a stack of papers. There you are, he shouted when he saw me. Tell them how you stole my research, your research. Arthur stepped between us. You never believed in this technology. You called it a fantasy.
Stay out of this.
George tried to push past him. She's using my work.
No, George.
I kept my voice steady. I'm using mine. The work you dismissed. Remember the projects you called my cute little hobby? Sakur's coming. Amelia announced, appearing behind us. I called him. George face crumpled. Amelia, princess.
Don't. She moved closer to me. Just go. Dad, please.
As campus security approached, George backed away, still clutching his papers. This isn't over, Emma. Actually, it is. I pulled out an envelope, your invitation to the launch. Come see for yourself what I've built, what I've always been capable of. Later that night, after getting Amelia settled, Arthur and I sat in my car in silence. You're right. I finally said, this isn't just about the technology anymore. I know. He took my hand. Just don't let it consume you. You're better than revenge. My phone lit up with another message from Mia, looking forward to the show. Hope you don't mind. I'm bringing a date. I showed Arthur the message, then deleted it. The launch is in 3 days. Everything has to be perfect. It will be. He squeezed my hand. But Emma, after this is over, maybe we could. Mom, Amelia tapped on the window. Can we get some ice cream? I looked at Arthur, saw the unspoken words in his eyes, and felt something shift in my chest. Ice cream sounds perfect. Wanna join us? His smile was answer enough. As we walked toward the ice cream shop, I deleted George's contact from my phone. The launch would be my final statement, but maybe Arthur was right. Maybe after that, it would be time to let go. 34 hours before the launch, everything went wrong. What do you mean? Oliver's having doubts? I gripped my phone tighter, pacing my office. The demonstration is tomorrow. He received some documents. Arthur explained, his voice tense. Anonymous source, they're making him nervous. George, the name tasted bitter. It has to be. My computer pinged with an urgent email. Our main investor was requesting an emergency meeting. Now I have to go. I told Arthur, get the prototype ready. We're doing a private demo for Oliver in 1 hour. The El Charlotte ride to Oliver's office felt endless. When I arrived, his assistant's face told me everything I needed to know. He's waiting for you, she said softly with the board. I walked into a room full of concerned faces and open laptops. Oliver sat at the head of the table holding a familiar-looking file. Emma, he started. We've received some concerning information about your patent applications from George. I pulled out my own folder. Let me guess. He claims I stole his research, among other things. Oliver slid the file across the table. He's threatening legal action. Read this first. I handed him Charlotte's documentation of George's financial fraud. My ex-husband is desperate. He's lost everything, and he's trying to take me down with him. Oliver's eyes widened as he read. This is serious. So, is what we're building. I stood up straighter. Give me 1 hour. Let me show you the prototype. If you still have doubts after that, I'll understand. My phone buzzed. Amelia, Mom, something's wrong. Mia just showed up at my dorm. One moment I told Oliver, stepping out to call Amelia, she's asking weird questions about your work. Amelia whispered about the prototype. She says she wants to make things right.
But Mom.
I don't trust her. Stay away from her. I'm sending Luna to pick you up. Back in the boardroom. Oliver was finishing the documents. 1 hour. Emma convinced us. I called Arthur on my way back to the office. Is the prototype ready? Ready. But Emma, Charlotte just called. Mia's been meeting with our competitors. I know she's trying to sabotage the launch. I entered the lab, where our team was making final adjustments, but we're not going to let her. The next hour was the most important presentation of my life. As Arthur and I demonstrated the prototype, I could see the doubt melting from Oliver's eyes, replaced by excitement. This is revolutionary. He breathed, watching the quantum interface process calculations that would take traditional computers years to complete. Why didn't you show us this sooner? Because now it's perfect. I smiled, but my phone buzzed again. George calling. Excuse me. I stepped out. What do you want? I need to see you.
His voice was shaky. Please.
Emma, before tomorrow. There's something you need to know. Whatever it is, tell it to my lawyers.
It's about Mia.
She's planning something for the launch. Something bad. I froze. What do you mean? She has investors lined up. She's going to announce a competing product claim. It's based on her work with me. She's trying to steal your moment. Why are you telling me this?
There was a long pause because I was wrong about everything about you.
Arthur appeared in the doorway, giving me a questioning look. I held up one finger. It's too late.
George.
I know. He sounded defeated. Just be careful tomorrow. Mia's dangerous. When she's desperate. After hanging up, I found Arthur waiting. Oliver, convinced we're good to go for tomorrow. George says Mia's planning something. Arthur stepped closer, his hand finding mine. Let her try. This is your moment. Emma, you've earned it.
Have I?
I looked at our joined hands sometimes. I wonder if I've let this consume me. The revenge, the need to prove myself.
Hey.
He tilted my chin up. You built something amazing. Not to get back at George. Not to prove anything, but because you're brilliant. Don't let anyone take that away from you. My phone buzzed one final time. Amelia. Safe with Luna. We'll see you tomorrow. Mom, show them what you're made of. Looking at that message. Then at Arthur. I felt the weight of tomorrow pressing down. The launch would either be my greatest triumph or my most public failure. But standing there with Arthur's hand in mine and our prototype humming behind us, I realized something important. I was ready for whatever came next, for success or failure, for Mia's schemes, for George's regrets, for Arthur's unspoken feelings, for all of it. Let's run through the presentation one more time, I said, squeezing Arthur's hand before letting go. Tomorrow would change everything one way or another. The auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Through the curtain, I could see Mia in the front row wearing a red dress that screamed for attention. George sat near the back, looking smaller than I remembered. Oliver paced the side aisle, checking his phone. 6 minutes. Arthur squeezed my shoulder. You ready? Born ready. I adjusted my microphone. Where's Amelia? Here, Mom. My daughter appeared backstage, followed by Luna. The prototype's all set up. We tested it 3 times. Charlotte rushed in breathless. Mia's up to something. She keeps texting someone, and she has a USB drive.
Let her try.
I hugged Amelia tight. This is our moment. The lights dimmed, and Oliver took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. We're witnessing history.
As he introduced me,
I caught George's eye. He mouthed something that looked like "I'm sorry," but I was already walking onto the stage into the spotlight. 3 years ago, I began. Someone told me my ideas were unrealistic, that quantum computing would never be accessible to everyday systems. I paused, letting my gaze sweep the audience. Today I'm going to prove them wrong. The presentation flowed perfectly. The prototype performed flawlessly, drawing gasps and applause as it demonstrated capabilities that seemed like magic, but were pure science. Then Mia stood up.
question.
She called out, not waiting to be acknowledged. Isn't this technology remarkably similar to what George's company was developing? Before I could respond, Arthur stepped forward with a remote. Actually, let's address that he pulled up a split screen showing both systems. As you can see, our approach is fundamentally different, but the base code Mia started was written by me. I interrupted 3 years before George's company even considered quantum computing. We have the documentation to prove it. She pulled out her USB drive. I have evidence of what Charlotte stood up from her seat. More lies. Mia, like the ones you told George before stealing his money and running to Miami, the audience murmured. Mia's face flushed red. Speaking of evidence, Oliver added, stepping forward, we have some interesting documents about intellectual property theft. Would you like to discuss those, Mia? She sat down hard, her USB drive forgotten. I turned back to the presentation, but movement at the back caught my eye. George was standing, walking toward the stage. Emma, he called out, his voice breaking.
Tell them.
Tell them how brilliant you've always been, how I try to hold you back, because I was jealous. Tell them how I failed you. The room fell silent. Arthur moved closer to me. Protective, no.
George.
I met his eyes. You don't get to make this about you, not anymore. Turning back to the audience, I continued, what we're launching today isn't just technology. It's proof that sometimes the best revenge is success. The best response to doubt is excellence, and the best way forward is forward. The demonstration concluded to a standing ovation as investors rushed the stage. I saw Mia slip out the back door. George remained standing, watching until Amelia approached him. Dad, she said loud enough for nearby people to hear, I think you should go. He nodded, shoulders slumping, and walked out alone. Later, during the champagne reception, Oliver announced the first round of orders. The numbers made my head spin. We did it, Arthur whispered, appearing at my side with 3 glasses.
You did it, we did.
I took a glass, noticing how his hand lingered on mine. Arthur, about what you were trying to say the other night, Mom, Amelia interrupted, running up with her phone. You're trending. The tech blogs are going crazy. Luna joined us, grinning, and wait until they see tomorrow's papers. Charlotte leaked the story about Mia's Miami escapade. Speaking of Charlotte, I looked around. Where is she dealing with reporters? Arthur said, they all want interviews with the woman who just revolutionized computing. I watched my daughter, showing Luna. The social media reactions, saw Arthur's proud smile, felt the weight of Oliver's success in my pocket, and suddenly it hit me. This victory wasn't about George or Mia or revenge. Arthur. I turned to him. Ask me again. What you were going to ask the other night. He set down his champagne. Have dinner with me. Just us.
Yes. I
smiled, feeling lighter than I had in months. But first, let's celebrate with our family. I gathered Amelia,
Luna,
Charlotte, and Arthur for a photo. As the camera flashed, I realized something. George had tried to leave me with nothing, but instead he'd given me everything: freedom, purpose, and people who believed in me. Not despite my ambitions, but because of them. The revenge had been sweet, but this moment with my real family was sweeter. The morning sun streamed through my office windows as I signed the final acquisition papers. Oliver beamed from across the desk while Arthur squeezed my hand under the table. Congratulations, Oliver said, collecting the documents. You're now officially the highest valued tech startup in Silicon Valley history. My phone buzzed a news alert about George. I opened it, then showed it to Arthur. Former tech executive accepts position teaching high school computer science. Good for him. Arthur said softly, everyone deserves a second chance. The door burst open and Jayla rushed in, waving her phone.
Mom.
Have you seen this? Mia's company just filed for bankruptcy. The karma comes for everyone. Eventually, Charlotte remarked, following behind her. Even my sister. I stood up, gathering everyone's attention, since you're all here. There's something I need to say, if it's about the merger. Rumors Oliver started, but I shook my head. It's about family. I moved to the window, looking out at the city below. When George left, I thought he was taking everything. My security, my confidence, my future. I wanted revenge because I thought it would fill that void. Arthur stepped closer. But let me continue. But look what happened instead. I turned back to the room. I got all of you, a daughter who believes in me, friends who became family, and I met Arthur's eyes, someone who saw my potential even when I couldn't. Mom Isabella's eyes welled up, so I'm making some changes. I pulled out a stack of papers. Charlotte, you're now Chief Operating Officer Luna. I need your PR expertise full-time. And Arthur, yes, his voice was barely a whisper. I need a co-CEO who's not afraid to tell me when I'm letting revenge cloud my judgment. The room erupted in cheers and hugs. As everyone celebrated, my phone buzzed again. George calling. This time, I answered. Emma, I didn't think you'd pick up. What do you need?
George.
Nothing. I saw the news about the acquisition. I wanted to say congratulations. You deserve it, all of it. Thank you. I watched Arthur spinning Amelia around the office in celebration. I heard about your teaching job. Yeah, he chuckled softly. Turns out I'm pretty good at it. The kids, they remind me to stay humble. Good, that's good.
George. Emma.
His voice cracked. I really am sorry for everything I know. And suddenly I did know. Be happy, George, and be better. After hanging up, I joined the others. Luna was already planning the press conference. Charlotte was reorganizing org charts, and Oliver was calling his contacts. But Arthur pulled me aside. You okay? Better than okay. I touched his cheek. I'm free. Free enough for dinner tonight, actually. I grinned. I have a better idea. That evening, I hosted a dinner at my house, not a business dinner or a networking event, but a family dinner. Amelia helped cook. Luna brought wine. Charlotte made her famous dessert, and Arthur arrived early to help set up. As we sat around my dining table, laughing and sharing stories, I realized something profound. Revenge hadn't made me whole. This had these people, this moment, this feeling of belonging. A toast. Oliver raised his glass to the future, to family. Amelia added to love. Arthur said quietly, his eyes meeting mine. My phone lay silent in another room. George number now unblocked, but no longer important. Mia's drama felt like a distant memory. The revenge that had driven me seemed small compared to the joy filling my dining room, to second chances. I said, raising my glass, and to the family we choose. Later, as Arthur and I stood on my back porch watching the others leave, he turned to me. You know what I love about you? He asked. My brilliant mind, my successful company, my excellent taste in co-CEOs, your heart. He pulled me close. Even after everything, you found a way to let go of the anger without losing yourself. Inside, Amelia was FaceTiming her new boyfriend. Luna and Eva were planning a girls' trip, and Oliver was leaving voicemails about tomorrow's meetings. The sound of their voices, the warmth of Arthur's embrace, the peace in my heart. It was all so far from where I'd been. When George first left, ready to go inside, Arthur asked. I looked up at him, at the life waiting for me through those doors, and smiled. I'm ready for everything, because that's the thing about revenge. Sometimes it leads you exactly where you need to be, even if it's not where you thought you were going. And sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's finding your own happiness on your own terms with the people who choose to. If you enjoyed this suspenseful story and want to hear more, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more thrilling content. Your support means a lot and helps me create more captivating stories for you. Thank you for being part of this journey.